Let's get right into it. Your home looks fine, clean even. Maybe you vacuumed last Tuesday. Maybe you wiped the counter after cooking. Maybe you even, and this is bold, mopped. You feel good about yourself. You feel organized. You feel like someone who has their life together in the square footage they pay rent for. Your home is rotting. Not dramatically. Not like a haunted mansion with vines crawling through the floorboards. Quietly, invisibly, in places you haven't thought about since you moved in and places you look at every single day without realizing what's actually happening there. Biology doesn't care that you lit a candle. Mold doesn't care that you own a Roomba. And the things festering inside your walls, your appliances, and your most personal belongings, they're not waiting for you to notice them. They're just thriving. Number 12, the kitchen sponge. There is an object sitting next to your sink right now that scientists have repeatedly, enthusiastically described as one of the most bacteria-dense items in the entire modern household. It is not your toilet. It is not your trash can. It's the little yellow rectangle you use to clean things. Your kitchen sponge is not cleaning your dishes. Your kitchen sponge is redistributing a civilization across your dishes. Research published in scientific reports found that a used kitchen sponge can harbor up to 54 billion bacteria per cubic centimeter, and microwaving it or boiling it, which everyone smugly recommends, mostly just kills the weaker bacteria and leaves the antibiotic-resistant ones to repopulate in peace. Congratulations, you've run natural selection in your kitchen sink. Here's why it's so bad. A sponge is structurally perfect for bacterial growth. It's porous, it stays damp, it gets warm, it has constant access to food residue, and you never fully dry it out. It's basically a 5-star resort for microbes. Every time you squeeze it, you're aerating it, pumping oxygen through the colony like a little bellhop turning on the AC. Every time you wipe a surface with it, you're not cleaning. You're touring the bacteria around your kitchen on a bus. The recommended replacement schedule is every 1 to 2 weeks. Most people replace theirs every, I don't know, it smells weird now. Which, by the way, the smell is not just the sponge breaking down. That smell is the bacteria. You've been nose to nose with a bacterial metropolis and calling it clean. Basically, the thing you use to fight kitchen filth is the kitchen filth. Number 11. Your cutting board. You washed it. You did. You held it under hot water and used the sponge. Yes, that sponge. And you scrubbed it and set it aside to dry and you felt responsible. And now it is sitting in your cabinet harboring a quiet, wooden horror story. Cutting boards, especially wooden ones, develop knife grooves over time. This is normal. This is expected. What nobody tells you is that those grooves are literally perfect bacterial trenches. Sheltered from the water you rinse with, sheltered from the soap that barely penetrates them, deep enough to trap meat juices and vegetable residue and whatever else you've been dramatically chopping on there. Wood is also porous by nature. Bacteria don't just sit on wooden cutting boards. They move into them. Now, there's actually an ongoing scientific debate about wood versus plastic cutting boards, and it is more interesting than it has any right to be. Plastic boards are easier to sanitize initially, but once they develop deep grooves, which they do fast, they become almost impossible to fully clean and don't have any of wood's natural antibacterial properties. Wood has antimicrobial compounds that actually kill some bacteria that penetrate the surface. So wood wins on biology and loses on the fact that most people never oil or maintain their wooden boards, which causes them to crack, which creates new grooves, which creates new bacterial infrastructure. The real enemy isn't the material. It's the groove. It's always the groove. The groove is patient. The groove has time. The groove is slowly turning your clean, cutting board into a salmonella memoir, and it's storing that memoir right next to your dinner. Your board should be replaced every 1 to 5 years depending on use. When was the last time you thought about when you got yours? Number 10. The washing machine seal. This one is genuinely upsetting, and you should prepare yourself emotionally. You put dirty things in your washing machine. The washing machine cleans the dirty things. The dirty things come out clean. This is the story you believe. This is the narrative you've built your laundry relationship on. It is not entirely accurate. The rubber gasket, that thick, floppy seal around the door of your front-loading washing machine, is one of the most aggressively disgusting surfaces in your home. It is designed to keep water inside the drum. It is also shaped in a way that creates folds and crevices that trap water after every single cycle, along with lint, hair, detergent residue, fabric softener buildup, and the microscopic remnants of everything you've ever washed. And then it stays damp, in the dark, with the door usually closed, for days at a time. The result is a black, slimy, deeply committed mold colony that builds up in the seal's folds and, here's the kicker, releases mold spores into the drum every time you run a load, which means your washing machine, the appliance whose entire purpose is cleanliness, is potentially depositing mold onto your freshly washed clothes. You put those clothes on your body. You sleep in sheets laundered in that machine. You dry towels with that machine that you then press against your face. You can prevent this by leaving the door ajar after every wash to let air circulate, wiping the seal dry regularly, and running a hot maintenance cycle monthly. Almost nobody does this. Almost everybody just wonders occasionally why their clean laundry smells like a damp basement. Now you know. It's not a smell. It's a presence. Number 9. Your toothbrush holder. Quick question. When did you last clean the thing that holds the thing you put in your mouth twice a day? Take your time. Studies conducted by the NSF International, an organization that professionally worries about germs so you don't have to, ranked the toothbrush holder as the third germiest item in the average home, behind only the dish sponge and the kitchen sink. Not the toilet handle. Not the garbage can lid. The toothbrush holder. The little ceramic cup or plastic caddy you probably received as part of a bathroom set and have thought about approximately 0 times since unpacking it. Here's the ecosystem you've accidentally built. Every time you brush your teeth, you tap your toothbrush against the holder. Water and toothpaste residue drip down into the base. The holder sits in a bathroom, a room defined by humidity, warm air, and the kind of airborne particles that exist near toilets. That residue at the bottom never fully dries. It sits. It accumulates. It turns into a dark, paste-like sludge that hosts mold, yeast, coliform bacteria, and sometimes this is a real finding, fecal bacteria. In the holder. That holds the brush. That goes in your mouth. The worst part is the design. Most toothbrush holders are narrow at the top, which means you can't see the bottom, can't reach the bottom easily, and probably haven't thought about the bottom as a location that has biological events occurring in it. It's engineered for ignorance. You look at the top looks fine, you move on with your morning. Rinse it weekly. Dishwasher it if it's dishwasher safe. Or at minimum, acknowledge that your dental hygiene routine begins at a mold cup, which is a sentence that should motivate you to do something. Number 8. The shower curtain liner. Showers are supposed to be where you get clean. The shower curtain liner is where clean goes to die. That flimsy plastic sheet, the clear or frosted one hanging inside your decorative curtain that you never think about as a separate entity, is one of the most neglected surfaces in any home. It lives in a permanently damp environment. It never fully dries. It folds and clings to itself while wet, trapping moisture inside its creases. Soap scum and shampoo residue build up along its lower half. And because it's plastic, it's slightly porous in ways that allow mold and mildew to root into the material itself rather than just sitting on the surface. The pink stain you've probably noticed creeping along the bottom? That's Serratia marcescens, a bacteria that thrives in soap residue and mineral deposits and produces a pinkish-red pigment as a byproduct of existing. It is not mold, technically, but it is absolutely a sign that your shower, the place you go to remove filth from your body, has become a habitat. The black stuff is actual mold. The combination of both means your shower is running a full biological timeshare. Liner replacements should happen every 6 to 12 months. Most people replace theirs when it gets so visually offensive they can no longer perform the mental gymnastics required to ignore it, which, given the average human capacity for motivated reasoning about household maintenance, can stretch to several years. You can wash most fabric liners in the washing machine, cold water, no heat dry, and extend the life significantly. Or you can keep staring past it every morning while convincing yourself the lighting just makes it look darker than it is. Both are choices. Only one of them is correct. Number 7. Couch cushions. Your couch is comfortable. Your couch is familiar. Your couch has been there for you during illness, during boredom, during every meal you told yourself you wouldn't eat on the couch and then immediately ate on the couch. And your couch is absolutely loaded with biological material that would make a hazmat professional raise an eyebrow. Inside the average couch cushion right now, there are dead skin cells, around 30,000 to 40,000 skin cells shed per hour by the human body, many of which end up in your furniture. There are dust mites feeding on those skin cells, and dust mite feces, which is a phrase nobody wanted to encounter today. There are pet dander and hair if you have pets, crumbs from every snack ever consumed in that zip code of the room, and potentially mold spores if the couch ever got damp and didn't fully dry, which happens more often than you'd think because people spill things and assume they've handled it by dabbing. The cushions themselves compress over time, which reduces airflow inside the foam, which creates pockets of trapped humidity, which is a mold incubator by another name. The crevices between cushions are essentially a long-term storage facility for everything that's ever been near your couch. There are people who have found things in couch cushions they lost years ago. The couch remembers. The couch keeps records. Vacuum your cushions monthly. If the covers are removable and washable, wash them seasonally. If they're not, at least give them direct sunlight occasionally. UV light kills surface mold and bacteria, and it's the only cleaning method that requires absolutely no effort from you. Just drag the cushions outside. Let the sun do something useful for once. Number 6. The kitchen drain. You wash things down it constantly. You assume the water takes everything with it. You are wrong in a way that smells. The kitchen drain, specifically the area just below the drain cover, inside the rubber splash guard if you have one, and along the walls of the P-trap beneath the sink, builds up a biofilm over time that is among the more genuinely horrifying things in any home. Biofilm is the scientific term for a structured colony of microorganisms that secrete a protective matrix to anchor themselves to a surface. In less polite terms, it's the black slime that coats the inside of your drain and occasionally detaches in chunks when you run hot water. This film is composed of bacteria, food particles, grease, soap residue, and hair, all compressed and layered into a living architecture. Some studies have identified over 100 different bacterial species in kitchen drain biofilms. The smell associated with drains, that familiar low-grade funk that no amount of dish soap seems to fully eliminate, is bacterial metabolic byproduct. You are smelling microbial exhaust. If you have a silicone splash guard, the rubber flap piece that sits in the drain opening, pull it out right now and look underneath it. Or don't. Honestly, respecting your own peace of mind is also a valid lifestyle choice. But if you do look, you will find a level of buildup that will reframe every meal you've ever cooked while standing 2 feet away from it. Baking soda and vinegar, followed by boiling water, once a month. That's all it takes. That's the entire solution to a problem that has been quietly getting worse in your kitchen, while you optimistically called the room clean. Number 5. Your pillows. You sleep on these every night. For years. You wash your pillowcase, maybe, and you consider the hygiene situation handled. The pillow itself, the actual object your face spends 8 hours pressed against, is quietly becoming something that a biologist would find professionally fascinating. Pillows accumulate body oil, sweat, saliva, dead skin cells, and dust mites at a rate that is both completely natural and deeply unsettling once you do the math. The average person sweats between 1 and 2 cups of fluid per night. Most of that evaporates, but residual moisture absorbs into the pillow over time, creating a damp interior environment that's warm, dark, and nutrient-rich. Basically a luxury spa for fungal growth. A 2005 study from the University of Manchester found up to 16 species of fungi living inside a single pillow, including species linked to respiratory infections in people with weakened immune systems. Dust mites make it worse. Dust mites are microscopic arachnids. Yes, they are technically spider relatives, you're welcome, that feed on shed skin cells and thrive in bedding. They don't bite. They don't burrow into you. What they do is produce fecal matter at an impressive rate, and their feces is one of the most common triggers of indoor allergies and asthma. A pillow that's never been washed can contain hundreds of thousands of dust mites. You've been inhaling aerosolized dust mite waste for years and calling it a good night's sleep. Pillows should be washed every 3 to 6 months and replaced every 1 to 2 years. Most people replace theirs when they get a new bed, move apartments, or receive a new pillow as a gift and quietly retire the old one with no ceremony and no reflection on what it has witnessed. Number 4. Under the refrigerator. This location exists in a kind of psychological blind spot that most humans have constructed entirely on purpose. You know it's there. You've known it's there since you moved in. You have chosen, firmly and repeatedly, not to deal with it. The refrigerator is heavy. Moving it requires effort. The consequences of not moving it are invisible. This is the perfect recipe for indefinite avoidance. What's under there is a compressed landscape of dust, food debris, pet hair, grease particles that waft off cooking and settle across the entire kitchen, and occasionally things that rolled under and were immediately written off as losses. All of that debris accumulates on the refrigerator's condenser coils, the heat exchange components on the underside or backside of the unit that keep the appliance running efficiently. When those coils get coated in enough dust and debris, the refrigerator has to work harder to maintain temperature, which increases energy consumption, which shortens the appliance's lifespan, which costs you real money in electricity bills and eventually a new refrigerator. But also, the dark, warm, food debris-rich environment under and behind your refrigerator is among the most attractive real estate in your home for cockroaches. Not because you have cockroaches necessarily, but if cockroaches were browsing listings for a place to establish a colony, warm, humid, near constant food source, undisturbed for years, would get 5 stars and a wait list. Pull the refrigerator out twice a year. Vacuum the coils. Sweep the floor beneath it. Process whatever emotional experience follows. The refrigerator will run better. Your electricity bill will quietly improve, and you will have confronted a truth about yourself and your home that most people never have the courage to face. Number 3, Houseplant Soil. Houseplants are lovely. They purify air, they add life to a room, they make you feel like a nurturing person who has their priorities straight. The soil they sit in is a different story entirely. Potting soil, especially when overwatered, which is the most common mistake plant owners make, becomes a thriving habitat for fungus gnats, whose larvae live in the top layer of soil and feed on organic matter and root tissue. You've seen them. Those tiny, fruit fly-adjacent insects that hover around your plants and then migrate to every other surface in the room because they can. The adult gnats don't damage plants significantly. The larvae, however, can damage root systems and introduce pathogens into the soil that spread from plant to plant through shared tools, shared hands, and shared drainage trays. Beyond gnats, damp soil cultivates mold on its surface, that white, fuzzy crust that sometimes appears on top of potting mix. Most surface soil mold is saprophytic, meaning it feeds on decaying organic matter rather than living plants, and it's not directly harmful to humans in normal circumstances. But it does release spores into the air of your home, which is relevant if you have allergies, asthma, or simply a preference for not breathing mold spores in your living room. Drainage trays, the saucers sitting under each pot, collect standing water after every watering and are frequently forgotten. Standing water in a warm room is mosquito breeding habitat, fungal habitat, and a reliable source of that mysterious damp smell you've been blaming on the weather. Water less. Empty the trays. Love your plants. Fear the trays. Number 2, your HVAC filter. If your home has central air or heating, there is a filter somewhere in the system whose entire purpose is to catch airborne particles before they circulate through your home. Dust, pollen, pet dander, mold spores, bacteria, the filter is supposed to grab all of it. It does this job remarkably well right up until it doesn't. Filters have a maximum capacity. Once they're full, and depending on your home's air quality, pet situation, and how often the system runs, this can happen in 30 days, they stop catching particles and start restricting airflow. A clogged filter forces the system to work harder, strains the motor, reduces heating and cooling efficiency, and, critically, can cause humidity to build up in the ducts, which creates mold growth inside the ventilation system. Mold inside your air ducts means every time your system runs, it is actively blowing mold spores throughout every room in your home through every vent simultaneously. It is a mold distribution network, and it runs on electricity you're already paying for. The recommended replacement is every 1 to 3 months, depending on filter type and household conditions. Most people replace theirs when the HVAC technician shows them the old one and makes a face. Some people discover their filter during a power outage when they're inspecting the unit with a flashlight and find something that looks like a felt sculpture of accumulated time. Check your filter. Right now, if possible. Set a calendar reminder. This is the one item on this entire list whose neglect has the broadest reach, because unlike a sponge or a cutting board, a compromised HVAC filter distributes its consequences everywhere, all at once, invisibly on a loop. Number 1. The walls themselves. You painted them. You decorated them. You hung things on them with carefully measured nail placement and called it a home. And inside them, right now, behind the drywall and the primer and the color you agonized over choosing, there may be something growing that you cannot see, cannot smell in the early stages, and cannot address until it has already become a significant problem. Mold inside walls is not a dramatic horror movie event. It doesn't announce itself. It begins with a single moisture event, a slow pipe drip, a poorly sealed window letting in humid air, a roof leak that travels further than you think before it settles, a bathroom exhaust fan venting into the wall cavity instead of outside. The moisture finds the drywall, which contains paper and gypsum, both excellent mold food sources. The interior of a wall is dark, undisturbed, and insulated enough to stay warm. Mold spores, which are present in every home's air in small quantities and are completely normal at low levels, land in that environment and do exactly what biology designed them to do. The earliest signs are easy to miss or explain away. A faint, musty smell in one room that you attribute to old carpet or poor ventilation. A small discoloration near the baseboard you assume is a scuff. Allergy symptoms that are mysteriously worse at home than anywhere else. Headaches, fatigue, respiratory irritation that your doctor can't trace to an obvious source. These are not dramatic symptoms. They're the kind of slow, ambient wrongness that people adjust to without realizing they're adjusting to anything at all. Black mold, Stachybotrys chartarum, has become something of a cultural panic phrase, and while its reputation is occasionally overstated in media, it is a genuinely problematic organism that produces mycotoxins linked to serious respiratory issues, neurological symptoms, and immune suppression with prolonged exposure. It requires consistently wet conditions to establish, which means if you have it, something has been wrong with your moisture situation for a long time. The mold is not the original problem. The mold is the visible report card on a problem that started quietly, weeks or months or years ago, and was never caught. Check around windows for soft drywall or discoloration. Look under sinks, in bathroom corners, along exterior walls in humid climates. If you smell something musty and can't locate a source, that's not nothing. That's your home trying to tell you something in the only language it has: smell, texture, and the slow visual confession of a stain that wasn't there 6 months ago. Your home is not trying to hurt you. It's just a physical structure operating inside the laws of biology and moisture and time, and those laws do not take breaks because you're busy or because the rent is high or because you'd really prefer not to deal with it right now. The walls have been there since before you moved in. They'll be there after you leave. What happens inside them is, at least partially, up to you. Everything on this list is fixable. The sponge costs $2 to replace. The filter takes 10 minutes. The couch cushions just need sunlight. The drain needs baking soda and 5 minutes of your willingness to acknowledge it exists. None of this is catastrophic. All of it is just the completely normal, completely manageable reality of sharing a living space with biology, which, whether you wanted to or not, you are absolutely doing. Your home is not a museum. It's a living environment. And living things, including the ones you didn't invite, are doing what living things do. The only question is whether you're going to stay ahead of it or keep pretending the smell is probably nothing. It is not nothing. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.